Crypto Kids, welcome back to another live stream, and today Bitcoin is actually inching very close to $50,000. This is an emergency live stream, so I will double check if we did manage to cross 50K on particular exchanges, but it looks like Bitcoin, we hit 49,950, I believe, over on Binance Spot. So make sure to watch this video or live stream until the end if you're watching it afterwards. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to smash up the like button for this live stream. Let's push out this live to as many people as possible so we can celebrate a hopefully $50,000 Bitcoin by the end of this stream. And please do let me know if video is good and audio is good. In the meantime, I'm going to sort out my trading view because it is not looking the best. So give me 2 seconds so that I make sure that the trading view is completely visible on the screen. So that should fix it. But okay, there we go. So perfect. If I switch over into trading view, it should be fine now. Amazing. So when we look at the price of Bitcoin, we've absolutely been catapulting. Like the price has been going really insane. And it started ever since, well, we broke out of this inverse head and shoulders pattern, and of course the bullish pennant too. I have some cool people tuning in. Carl, thank you so much. It means a lot for you to be watching the show. And we have Dano Crypto also tuning in. Thank you guys so much for watching. But the important thing that we want to discuss today is why is Bitcoin having this price action? And why is Bitcoin hitting 50K with not much of traction going on over on social media? And this pump has happened out of nowhere. So let me break it down to you. It's a lot of institutional FOMO about mostly the Bitcoin supply, which we talked about in previous videos, but I will also elaborate further today. So let's go into the TA first. We'll jump into the short-term analysis. We'll go into the breaking news, and we'll go into extra things too. So I'll get into why Bitcoin is actually pumping. There is a particular reason for this, but you just need to wait until the end. I'll link it all together, but first, let's start off with the price action to make sure we cover the Bitcoin TA and the next levels of resistance so we do not miss out if Bitcoin decides to pump further or see a drop towards the downside. Now, if you guys have been watching the channel for a while now, we talked about this bullish pennant breakout, right? And we actually did open a long position as soon as Bitcoin broke above the line of resistance here, and it's been doing very well so far. I'll show you how well it's doing. Unfortunately, we couldn't add as much capital as we initially wanted to because as Bitcoin was breaking out, it was pretty late at night and I just didn't add more margin, but Bitcoin just kept going higher and higher. Massive congrats if you were able to add more margin to the trade. Let me switch over into Brave and I should be able to see the trade there. So here you can see that the trade is actually up 29%, which is not bad at all. The only thing that's a little bit annoying is that, yeah, we weren't able to put as much margin as I wish we could have, but hey, it is what it is. Now, instead of buying 1 round of Happy Meals to my family, I can buy 2 rounds of Happy Meals, which is perfect, perfectly fine. But it's good, right? Maybe I don't want to just add margin right now because $50,000 will be incredible psychological resistance for Bitcoin. The moment we break above it, though, interesting things will happen. And of course, let me know if you were able to get into this breakout trade of both the inverse head and shoulders and the bullish pennant patterns. And if you are looking for a place to be trading Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, you can go to the description of the stream to check out the link for Bitflex, where you can get up to $68,000 in rewards by using this link. And the link below it shows you how you can actually use a cryptocurrency exchange to be trading and investing. It's a full breakdown, super simplified, and it's under 20 minutes long. Now, going back into the price action, what everybody's wondering about is why is this pump happening, and will Bitcoin be able to surpass $50,000? Now, over on Binance, Bitcoin hit 49.9K. We can quickly check other exchanges too to verify if we actually broke $50,000. I'm not entirely sure if we managed to do so yet. Over on Bybit, Bitcoin topped at $49,959. So we were incredibly close over on Bybit. Let's check Coinbase. Coinbase, it was 49,990 something. So we're getting very close. We're literally dollars away from hitting the $50,000 massive psychological barrier. And everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to smash the likes like Carl is saying over here. And let me know if the If the sound is good, if the video is good, that would be very much appreciated. So thank you everyone for tuning in. It means a lot. But let's cover actually the last time. When did Bitcoin hit $50,000? The last time on the price history, because it feels like such a long time ago. And it is. It happened quite a while back. In fact, I think it was exactly 777 days ago when Bitcoin was last trading at $50,000. So it's been a while. It has been a while for Bitcoin. If we zoom back on the chart, we can see here on December of 2021, Bitcoin fell from the candle opened at $50,779, and then we closed this candle at 47.1K. And of course, you all know we had a small relief rally towards the 47K territory. It didn't hold, and Bitcoin crashed 67% to $15,500. Now, after 777 days, Bitcoin has almost reached $50,000 yet again. And really, it's crazy to really see how long it's been and how long Bitcoin has taken to come to this level. And to put it into context, I started doing crypto YouTube videos exactly in this time. I think it was a little bit before, maybe on this candle here. So ever since the last, well, 3 years, it's not been 3 years, but actually, yeah, it's 2024 now. So we're in that vicinity, and it's crazy how long Bitcoin has taken to reach back this target. Now, in the previous video, we discussed about Fibonacci and how whenever Bitcoin breaks above the 61.8 on the Fibonacci retracement, we tend to go parabolic and break the previous all-time high. This is an incredibly bullish perspective because whenever Bitcoin does end up breaking the 61.8, Bitcoin hits a new all-time high, which is really, really crazy. And over on OKX, apparently we have hit $50,000. So the title is not clickbait. I'm super happy. But yeah, so we've apparently hit 50K over on OKX. And if that's the case, well then guys, we've smashed $50,000. It's incredible. But in the previous video, we talked about this Fibonacci retracement chart, and every time Bitcoin breaks above the 61.8, we tend to hit a new all-time high. You can see this happening in every cycle since 2011, and every time after the halving, Bitcoin breaks above it with an average between 62 days and 200 days. We break above the previous top, and then we achieve a new all-time high. The difference this time around is Bitcoin is having this momentum before the actual halving event, and this is fueled by the Bitcoin ETFs. The only time within these cycles where Bitcoin had access to a financial instrument was in the 2017 top at $20,000, because that was when the CME Bitcoin futures started trading, and that took us to $20,000, giving us, I believe it was a gain of 80%, but correct me if I'm wrong. We spoke about this a very long time ago here on the channel. So this will be the first time that Bitcoin is actually breaking the 61.8 on the monthly scale before the halving event. But be careful, the monthly candle still has 17 days and 8 hours to go. If we close the candle above 47K, then this could confirm a new all-time high. But the question is, again, why is Bitcoin seeing this pump, and will we be able to top out? These are all great questions. Now let me answer. Because the reason why Bitcoin is seeing such a huge surge towards the upside is mostly due to two factors. Number one, the stock market, and number two, the Bitcoin ETF inflows. If we quickly switch over to the S&P, I'm not going to spend too much time here. The S&P has been creating new all-time highs. And the money that has been flowing into the Bitcoin spot ETFs have been fueling a correlation between the traditional markets and Bitcoin. So whenever capital is entering the stock market, it's also simultaneously entering the Bitcoin markets. Now, this correlation is something that is not crazy ideal, and it doesn't hurt it, but we do want Bitcoin to be trading like gold instead of the S&P 500, since Bitcoin should be classified as a hedge against inflation, not a tech stock. But it's fine. It's helping the Bitcoin price, and that's perfectly good. So because the stock market has been pumping, we've been seeing the same correlation over on the Bitcoin price history. You can see it looks pretty similar. Of course, one is the weekly chart, one is the 4-hourly time frame, but at least in the past couple of weeks, the charts have been very much correlated. So if we jump back into the actual data for the Bitcoin spot ETFs, this was something we discussed on yesterday's video in a lot more detail, but we can mention it once again. we saw $541 million worth of inflows into the spot ETFs. Now, the key piece of information here is only a total of 900 Bitcoin are released into the market on a daily basis. So whenever there is mining activity, the daily released sum of Bitcoin, which is the rewards given to the miners, and of course we do not know if the miners are selling. They may not be selling, hence the amount of Bitcoin released into the market could be a lot less. So let's say that they all sell, all the miners on a daily basis sell their Bitcoin. That would equate to 900 Bitcoins per day. And if we do a quick calculation, if I bring up my calculator tool, in fact, yeah, let me just do the calculation, do the math very quickly. $49,000 multiplied by 900 Bitcoin, that's going to give you approximately a value of, God, it's late at night, so I can't read. Apologies. I believe this is 440. No, that should be 44 million. Yes. Okay. So $44.1 million of Bitcoin are released into the market per day. Here we can see on one single day, which was on a Friday, a total of $545 million were bought. So this is over 10x, so approximately 12.5x of the total Bitcoin released into the markets per day, assuming that the miners are selling on a daily basis. And that's just incredibly bullish, because what's going on here is that the supply is being bought up and there's much more demand per day compared to what is being sold. So this is all incredible, and I'll get into Ethereum and a lot of other altcoins towards the ending of the stream. So don't go anywhere. It's going to be an absolutely amazing one. So Bitcoin is being bought up at a very large level, and the total demand is higher than what is being distributed in the supply right now. Now, talking about supply, another very, very bullish metric is that currently 70% of the total Bitcoin in the last over 1 year has not been moving. So 70% of Bitcoin in different wallets have not moved. So they're inactive Bitcoins, and people are not selling this Bitcoin. It's just steadying in their wallets and they're hodling it for the long term. Now that's incredible. What we can tell from this piece of data is that the only Bitcoin circulating in the markets is the remainder 30%. So if this data, I mean, if it's really, it's unbelievable when you hear it, because let's say the total Bitcoin, if we just quickly go over to CoinMarketCap, we can also do a very small calculation. So give me a second here, and in the meantime, I'll open the Bitcoin chart too. It's seeing a push back towards the upside. We're sitting at $49,800. So if I quickly open CoinMarketCap on my browser and go over into Bitcoin, and we switch over into Brave, we can see that the total circulating supply is 19.626 million Bitcoin. And the current amount, which is on the market, is only 70% of that. So let me bring up my calculator tool once again. What I need to do is we need to calculate 70% of 19.6. So if we just type this in, 19,626,006 Bitcoin, and we want to find out what is the 70%. What is 70% of that? So let me just quickly make this calculation, and we should be getting, right? So the only available Bitcoin in the markets is 13.7 million. So hold on, that's what's being held, and the remainder, which is just subtract that from 19 and 6 to 60006. I know this is taking some time, but it's something important to know. So only approximately 5.8 million Bitcoin are circulating. That's the amount that's on the market. And to keep in mind, right, not all of this is being traded, etc. It is moving on a day-to-day basis, but it could consist of different transactions. It's not really selling pressure. This is the only Bitcoin that we're working with. And I think, right, it will create a huge supply shock into the markets. And given the network effect, if more and more people use Bitcoin on a day-to-day basis, use the blockchain system, like this could be an entire podcast where I describe why governments actually need to use Bitcoin, or if it's something that you want to hear, I'll also talk about it on the stream. the most key information is that the total hash rate has hit a new all-time high, meaning there is an all-time high of people and miners contributing to the Bitcoin network. And as more and more people use the Bitcoin network, given the theory of the network effect, the value of the underlying asset should also be simultaneously increasing. So we have the network effect, and of course, basic fundamental economics of the supply, the total available supply decreasing and demand increasing. All of these factors should be causing the price of Bitcoin to go a lot higher than where it is sitting at today. But let me get a sip of water, and in the meantime, I'll go through some of your comments. Carl is incredibly right. We need to be reaching 100 likes on this live stream so that we have the same juice to push Bitcoin over the $50,000 mark. Apparently, we have hit it over on OKX. On Binance, it looks like we hit 49.9 something. So let's make sure to smash up the 100 like milestone. That would be awesome. Just a quick sip of water. All right. So yeah, that's basically what my perspective is. The supply shock will be huge, and as more and more people use the Bitcoin network, its value should therefore be increasing at the same time. But looking at the total liquidations and the open interest in the market, the open interest has actually hit a new all-time high. I don't believe CoinGlass shows the open interest as a chart, unfortunately, but I can tell you that the open interest has hit a new all-time high. And what does the open interest reflect, and why is it important? It's important because it portrays the amount of options contracts being traded on Bitcoin. And this is referring to the institutional markets. We can see that there's an all-time high of institutional demand for Bitcoin. And as we know, given the data regarding the social activity, this pump has been caused by institutions rather than the retail individuals. And that's a bullish thing, because when the retail FOMO does kick in, we're to be seeing a larger uptick on Bitcoin. But of course, nothing on the stream/video is financial advice, just my personality and opinions only. Always make sure to do your own research before trading or investing. Super important. And just a reminder, right? There's only 56 days left until the Bitcoin halving. That is in less than 2 months. So if you have been DCing into Bitcoin in the last 85 days, which was something we mentioned based off of on-chain analysis to make the most profit into Bitcoin by DCAing. And what is DCAing? It was a comment mentioned on my previous video. It's called dollar cost averaging. And what is dollar cost averaging? You set a particular target and you divide it into the given number of days. So that would be 85 days. So 10,000 divided into 85. And every single day you accumulate more and more Bitcoin. And that's how you can hedge against risk. And that's what I've been doing. And I'm super happy so far. But yeah, this is on derivatives. Over on my personal spot account, this is our $10,000 trading account. I have been accumulating a lot of Bitcoin. Tomorrow is going to be an important day. Why? Because Bitcoin, or the traditional markets, are going to be seeing CPI. Now the CPI is important. Usually it's not too big of a deal for Bitcoin, but because we're seeing this correlation with the stock markets for the first time in a long time, the CPI is actually going to matter. Now, if we look at the previous inflation data, so the CPI refers to inflation, we can see that the last data was at 3.4%. So we saw an uptick from 3.1 to 3.4% on the US CPI, but what really matters is the core inflation data, because the core excludes the volatile things like housing and energy. So the core CPI actually saw a drop from 4%, and this gives us an indication that if the forecasted is at 3.7%, if we meet that, then the markets could continue to rally because there's a target inflation rate of 2%. Once the markets reach a 2% inflation goal, then what happens is the interest rates will have a higher likelihood of coming down, and this could cause people to withdraw their money from their bank accounts, or mostly institutions to withdraw their money, as you know, they could be investing in the stock market or real estate to potentially make higher returns. But the interesting scenario here is usually what you should be seeing is the stock market actually falling given this data. However, from what I've been researching, the analysis that I've been doing, I do see a lot of manipulation taking place in this cycle of the stock market, because usually we should be seeing the stock market actually seeing a drop towards the downside with all of these factors given the recession data and all of the bearishness in terms of the economic metrics. But I want to answer some of your comments, and we hit 100 likes. Thank you so much for hitting 100 likes. How do you anticipate the dip, and will there be a dip? So that's a good question by ZZ Way. Apologies if I read your name incorrectly. Honestly speaking, right, the current fib level is a super important one. We did mention this briefly in the previous video, but Bitcoin does tend to test the 61.8 and get a rejection. Now, if we go over into the previous cycles for Bitcoin, we can see, for example, in the one between 2013 and 16, Bitcoin briefly tested the 61.8, and then we saw a price correction by, let's check it out. So Bitcoin corrected by approximately 44% after seeing a test to the 61.8. And then we can see previously here in the last cycle, Bitcoin hit the 61.8 level, went just above it, and we corrected. Okay, let's ignore this wick created by COVID, but if COVID did not happen, then it would have been a 53% correction. Therefore, the line that Bitcoin is sitting at right now is like, it's so critical, people fail to see this. If we manage to break out of this line on the monthly time frame or the weekly time frame, I'm expecting at least a consolidation here, because 6 green candles back to back, it's not healthy. Usually what Bitcoin does do is we do see a retracement to at least the bull and bear market support bands, which are sitting at the $39,000 territory as we speak. So seeing some sort of reversal would be very healthy for the markets, and continuing this way, it's just not healthy. Why? Because the higher something goes up. So if I were to, take this bottle and, throw it to the sky, how much force I put on it will determine how much force it will have when it's coming back down. So the higher something goes up, the more force it has coming down. That's why some sort of a correction would be healthy for the Bitcoin markets. And if we were to see this correction, look, the average that we just calculated was about 48% of a drop towards the downside. Is $31,000 still possible? You're going to be surprised by my answer. It's not out of the question. It's really not. And look, as a Bitcoin bull, as a Bitcoin maximalist, now I am proud to call myself a Bitcoin maxi. I do think 31K would be awesome. Personally, it is a selfish target, as I would be buying so much of it. But in terms of a technical standpoint too, based off of based TA, non-subjective, I think $31,000 on a monthly time frame could happen. It's just there's one issue that I have. We're super close to the halving. Usually on the Bitcoin halving day, we tend to see a drop, but that's like a 20% or 40% drop between this range. So 31K is, I think it would be possible. It's, we can't eradicate the option completely, but what I think is much more likely is 34.5K on a monthly time frame. Once we zoom in, of course, those targets look miles away. This is currently macro analysis. So there's a difference between short-term and higher time frame analysis. We need to differentiate between the two. On the shorter time frames, my potential drop and dipping scenarios are a lot higher than what I'm mentioning here. So that's something important to keep in mind. But 34.5K would be much more likely compared to a $31,000 retracement, in my opinion. And it's all going to depend on how this candle is going to close. Are we going to get rejected from the 61.8 level, or are we going to soar past it and go up towards $51,800? I want to see what Ethereum is doing, but thank you so much for your question. I will be looking at other questions very shortly. And guys and girls, if we can hit 150 likes, that would be amazing. And thank you so much for watching the stream. It means a lot to me. But let's go over into Ethereum. and discuss what Ethereum is doing. If you remember, actually, we have been buying Ethereum on spot. So I want to just quickly check that. Let me go to Bitflex, because we did buy spot Ethereum a long time ago, and I want to see what has happened with that. So if I go to spot, just give me 2 seconds while I try and find it. And in the meantime, you could smash up the like button if you've not done so already. I don't want to keep the stream for too long. I want to give you as much value as possible. So bear with me for another 15 minutes where we soar past a lot of good content and good analysis. Let's see if it's going to work. This is Bitcoin, and if I go into Ethereum, I think it should work. And if we go to order history, interestingly enough, maybe it's my Wi-Fi connection, but it's not working. Anyways, not a big deal. We have been buying Ethereum though at $2,200 on spot. And ever since that, Ethereum has absolutely exploded. So if you also bought Ethereum, congrats on that purchase, because we were seeing a bullish pennant. And more importantly, we were seeing a test back to this ascending triangle. And I mentioned in multiple videos months ago that if Ethereum were to test back this line of now support, it could give us the fuel to head towards our next target level for Ethereum, sitting at, I mentioned $3,500, but I think $3,170 could be a better line of resistance or a bullish target for Ethereum to come back up to. So that is my analysis on Ethereum. And going back into Bitcoin, we flipped this previous line of support. Well, actually now it's support again, of course, but I mentioned this in multiple videos too, that after Bitcoin breaks above this line, we could be staying above it and going to a lot higher territories. And yeah, we're trading now at $49,600. We went above the prior swing high created on the hype of the Bitcoin spot ETFs. And the question is, where is this going to stop? And to give an answer to this, I need to look at multiple different oscillators and indicators, which we will do so together in just a second. But before we do so, and thank you so much for your beautiful comments, by the way, I'm going through them. Thank you. It means a lot. But I hope you guys enjoy the content on a daily basis. And if you guys ever have questions or improvements, do not be shy to ask. I always look at your comments and will improve the content based off of your feedback. I want to jump into some of the news I have. It's nothing much, but this was something that I found very interesting. So if I switch over into Brave very quickly, and then we'll do some more TA with different oscillators and indicators, and we'll call it a day afterwards. So here we can see that 15 years ago yesterday, Satoshi Nakamoto explained why Bitcoin will revolutionize the financial system forever. So here, this was the most important phrase: banks must be trusted to hold our money and transfer it electronically. But they lend it out in waves and of credit bubbles with barely a fraction in reserves. So if that didn't mean much to you, let me break it down, because this is probably some of the most important information that you'll get about Bitcoin. And after I heard this and after I learned it, I was like, what am I doing with my life? Why do I not hold Bitcoin? This was the thing that, like, switched on the light bulb. So the way that the Federal Reserve was created. So the Federal Reserve was created back in the 1910s after the automakers crash in 1908. But to explain this, I do need some water because it's going to take some time. Okay, so 1908, we have the automakers crash in the United States. The Federal Reserve was actually created by a couple of bankers, including JP Morgan himself, where they would bail out these automaker companies and, they would fund them to make them, functioning again. And once they were making profits, they would collect those profits and make interest on their bailing out payment. Now, this actually became very profitable. And in around 1912 or 1913, the government wanted to make it a part of them. Of course, that's not what happened initially, but the Federal Reserve kind of was working with the government, and the Fed, the official name of the Fed, was created. Now, this was before World War I, and the government needed money for war. So they were selling war bonds to, of course, the normal population, but the Fed was also somehow forced into purchasing these war bonds too. So the government raised a lot of money for the war, and after the war was over, they didn't have enough to pay back the bonds, because the way that bonds work is, I give you a bond, let's say for $10,000, it will have an expiry, so let's say it's 5 years, maturity, 5 years, And within this 5 years, you'll be giving me interest or dividends, etc., whatever you want to call it. And at the end of its maturity, I will give you back the initial $10,000 you paid me when purchasing it. So after the war was over, unfortunately, the government didn't have enough money to pay back investors. So they issued new bonds to collect more investment, and they would use the second bonds as investment to pay off the first one. Now, I don't want to, there is a certain shape linked to that, which you could draw with your hands. And that kind of gives you why the financial system is potentially not the best alternative to follow. And that kind of went on until 2008 when we had the global recession. And after 2008, the Federal Reserve was basically like a money printing machine. And, ever since that, if I pull up a tool that I always like to pull up on my videos, it is the US debt clock. And over here, we can see the metric where we have around, let's see if it's going to work. Sometimes it does stop working in my Wi-Fi. Unfortunately, today is not the greatest. We do have a lot of rain over in Dubai, and that could be messing with the frequency somehow. But we can see here that the US national debt reached an all-time high, or in fact, it reaches an all-time high every single second at $34.2 trillion. So hopefully there we go. Okay, so $34.2 trillion. So eventually, this amount of debt has been going up, and it's been going up exponentially. Now that we have accumulated all of this debt, it's super hard for the government to actually pay back on the money it owes. And that's why eventually they will default. There is no option not to. Maybe they can prolong the inevitable with interest rates, etc. Everyone follows a Keynesian economic structure, so they can prolong it for a little bit more, but eventually the system will go into itself, and Bitcoin, therefore, should emerge victorious as people will shift their money into Bitcoin. Gold is outdated. There's a lot of things that, gold is a precious metal that you can use in phones and whatever. It still has its use cases, but if you were comparing it to Bitcoin, there's a lot of things that Bitcoin can do better than gold. And that's why in a modern age, people should be hypothetically using Bitcoin over gold. There's tons of differences and different use cases Bitcoin can do. Like you can move mass amounts of Bitcoin much more easily. Bitcoin is finite, so it's set to 21 million Bitcoins, where else, gold could be found, a lot of gold could be found somewhere in the world, or, an asteroid could be falling to Earth and a different metal is found, etc. So gold is finite, 21 million Bitcoins only. It is the first ever asset that solves the double spending problem, etc. So Bitcoin is clearly a better inflationary hedge compared to gold. And this situation should cause people to be buying up Bitcoin rather than gold as an asset. And interestingly enough, people kind of overlook this, but Bitcoin does have a $1 trillion market cap. And I think we passed 1 trillion today. No, we have not, unfortunately. It is sitting at $976 billion. But very soon, Bitcoin will pass 1 trillion. And that's a phenomenal sum. That puts us into the 10th highest market cap asset in the world. And that's pretty legit in my eyes. The only unfortunate situation is people are not informed enough. People do not have this information. So they don't see the true potential of Bitcoin. Unfortunately, cryptocurrency and Bitcoin is seen as a way to get rich quick, but that's not the case at all. It's revolutionary technology, and people just need to put in the time to learn about it. And then they will really wake up. If you've not read the book, The Bitcoin Standard, I would definitely start off by reading that. It gives you a lot of new perspective. So I hope that kind of summarizes. I know it was a bit of a long one, but also it was pretty informative. We can see Bitcoin hitting all-time highs compared to the Turkish lira. And unfortunately, I'm from Turkey, and our economy is not doing great. We are going into the hyperinflationary stage, and that's why in countries such as Argentina, Myanmar, Ethiopia, Turkey, people do not have an option other than to be buying Bitcoin, because they can't be buying up, well, gold is available too, but there's a lot of different markets going on for gold, and gold is selling at different rates everywhere. It's not as easy to purchase. It's not as easy to store. There's always the risk of getting robbed. If you want to put it into the bank, you're going to be paying the bank money. So if you just buy Bitcoin, it's super easy to store. There's no fees in storing Bitcoin. And that's why people are switching to Bitcoin to hedge their money against inflation. So Bitcoin is their only option in these countries. And that's why it's super popular in countries such as Turkey. But yeah, against the Argentina peso, I think it is, we also hit an all-time high very recently. So Bitcoin is doing very well in these markets. And what's awesome is mainstream media has started talking about the Bitcoin halving and how it usually tends to push the price up. This is from Bloomberg. And just a couple of hours ago, I saw a breaking news sign on my phone from investing.com that was talking about Bitcoin and how we were hitting new highs. As the price is picking up, mainstream media will continue to talk about this a lot more. There's something concerning about that in itself, as usually when you see a lot of mainstream media attention, it does signal a top for Bitcoin. And I did share an on-chain analysis chart. Maybe I have the chart here still, but no, but this is a new chart. Whenever mainstream media starts talking about Bitcoin, usually a couple of months after that, we do tend to see a top. So I would be careful in that perspective. And this is the Bitcoin 1-year seasonal pattern between 2010 to 2022 versus 2023 and 2024. Now, this is a comparison of all the different years Bitcoin has been trading in, and in every single one we see a top, right? This is the orange line is the most recent one. We see a top or some sort of move towards the upside, and then we see a small drop off in price, we see a squeeze, and then a huge price shift towards the upside. And this is just cycle analysis. I mean, Mark Twain said it perfectly. History doesn't repeat itself exactly, but it rhymes. And that's what we saw. Props to Almanac Trader. And that's why it's super important to learn about history and what's happened in the past, because you can draw conclusions from that and then apply it to your trading or your knowledge about the world in the future. But this was just a beautiful on-chain chart, which I wanted to share with you. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be looking into different altcoins that you guys give me as suggestions, and we'll also go into different oscillators and indicators about Bitcoin that could give us a particular price point where it may be a potential good idea to DC into Bitcoin. This was a beautiful, beautiful interview. I'm not going to play it. The reason being is it is 5 minutes long, unfortunately, but Anthony Pompliano went to CNBC to discuss with, what was his name? Ross Sorkin, and they were talking about why Bitcoin is incredible, etc. There was one guy who was, of course, old, and he doesn't get it, and he was saying that Bitcoin will float at $47,000 for the rest of its life, or whatever, this guy there. But Anthony, he really talked about it beautifully, and he mentioned a lot of the points that I did earlier on in the stream. So if you have just joined the CryptoKid live stream, then I would definitely recommend going back and watching the full show. We already talked about Bitcoin price, and we already talked about the news, etc. So I would definitely go back and recommend watching it one more time. But here Anthony Pompliano describes that Bitcoin, Wall Street loves Bitcoin, and they really do, like no other asset in the world. And thank you so much, Catherine Weaver, for posting this over on Twitter. Very much appreciated, and I'll actually give this a like. No other asset class in the world has reached so much money under management, and profits are flying. Awesome, dude. Very glad to hear that. And yeah, I mean, Wall Street just cares about making money. And with Bitcoin, they've had incredible volumes. We were in the top 10 most traded ETFs by volume multiple times during the past couple of weeks. So the spot ETFs are bringing in so much volume, and it's just incredible how well it's doing. And I'm just checking here in terms of if there's any breaking updates. Michael Saylor's investment is now in 3.5 billion unrealized profits. And what's crazy is just 2 days ago, this was sitting at 3 billion. And really, Michael Saylor is a genius. He really is a genius. But was that the top, Carl is saying? It's a good question. The bearish divergence is still in play, and we do have 6 monthly green candles back to back. So at some point here, if it's either going to be now or $51,800 based off of my TA, but between these two prices, Bitcoin should be seeing a top based off of technical analysis. So that's what I'm looking at. But going down through here, there isn't really major news causing the price of Bitcoin to pump. It's just the success of the ETFs and how much money is flowing in on a daily basis. We discussed the average money being bought, how much Bitcoin is actually being bought on a daily basis, etc. over on in the beginning of the stream, so it's something definitely I would recommend watching. But as I said, there isn't anything new in terms of news that is causing Bitcoin to be pumping. There was something interesting here that I saved to talk about on the show, actually. And maybe you saw this. So DCG, the digital currency group, and Grayscale opposed bankrupt Genesis from selling $1.6 billion in Grayscale trusts. So this would be potentially something that causes Bitcoin to unfortunately see a dump towards the downside. Now, Genesis, Grayscale, and DCG are all sister companies, but apparently one of the sister companies, Genesis, is going bankrupt, and they hold $1.6 billion in Grayscale trusts, so Grayscale shares. And over here it says on clause 4, Grayscale Bitcoin trusts and other shares constituting restricted securities cannot be sold, assigned, or otherwise disposed without Grayscale's prior consent. Hopefully that's the case, because if we do see $1.6 billion worth of selling pressure in Grayscale, that will for sure dump the markets. That's something that I would be careful of, but because they're sister companies, I'm hoping that this does not happen. That would really be catastrophic. But yeah, I mean, Bitcoin has hit the highest price level in 777 days. It's now sitting at, we can double check, 49,500 US dollars. Congrats if you were able to take a breakout trade all the way from $43,197. Unfortunately, I couldn't add more capital to this trade as we were breaking out. But if you were able to, do let me know in the comment section. And if you are, of course, looking for a place to be trading Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, you can check out Bitflex or Bybit. With Bitflex, you can get up to $68,000 in rewards, and with Bybit, you can get up to a $30,000 bonus. Links are in the description below. And with Bitflex, we're soon going to be doing an awesome giveaway. And look, I need your take on this. Would you rather have, you know what, would you be happy with getting an Apple Watch giveaway? Let me know in the comment section, and we will make it happen very soon with Bitflex to give away a Apple Watch to you. But let's go into the price of Bitcoin in terms of the TA chart and use some of my favorite oscillators to kind of examine if the price of Bitcoin has reached a point of exhaustion and if we will see a drop towards the downside. So give me a second here while I just look at some of my favorite indicators and oscillators that I use to examine the price of Bitcoin. But we can have a look at the SARS. So let me put on the SARS, and let me put on the stochastic. We'll have a look at the MACD. So MACD is something that I like too. I want to have a look at the Arun. So let's have a look at the Arun as well. Arun. And one more is going to be the ADX. So let's put the ADX. There we go. Okay. Now this looks like a lot of stuff. In my own time, I do more, I do more detailed analysis. This analysis I don't show in videos because it gets very complicated. And when it gets complicated, it's not good to watch and easy to understand. But if we switch to the daily time frame, it's going to give us a more effective chart because the macro time frames are more effective compared to lower ones. But let me just get a quick sip of water. Okay, so we can see here that the SARS are bullish. There's still no sign of a drawback. The stochastic still looks like it's going up, but we are very much in the overbought territory. The MACD is still heading up. The histogram is also heading up. No sign of a reversal there. The Arun is up, and the ADX is looking pretty bullish because the trend, it looks like we're going to see a strengthening trend very soon. So as this yellow and blue line essentially go up, we would be seeing a confirmation that the trend, the bullish trend, is here to stay. If we look on the weekly time frame, stochastic is heading up. MACD had a bearish but then bullish crossover. We saw the Arun is still going up, and the strength of the market is very strong. So if we look at the weekly and daily time frames, Bitcoin doesn't look too bad whatsoever. We also have our Consensio chart, which consists of the 3 and 7 period moving averages. I talked about this a long time ago on the videos, but I think it was like last week in crypto. We called that a long time ago. We had the 3 and 7 period moving average have first a bearish crossover, but then it was followed by a bullish one straight after. And usually speaking, Bitcoin doesn't tend to do this. Like, it is very rare for the 3 and 7 MAs to cross over back to back like that. You can see that these MAs timed the market perfectly back at the $66,000 top, the 30K bottom, $69,000 top. When we had the relief rally. etc., etc. So this is a highly accurate indicator that I like to use, created by the late Tyler Jenks, may he rest in peace. But it is a beautiful indicator that, the moving averages are really, really awesome. It consists of the 3, 7, and 30 period MAs, and I like to use it only on the weekly chart. So here, when Bitcoin had the bullish crossover at approximately 42.5K, we also had the breakout of the bullish pennant and inverse head and shoulders at the same time. This caused the price of Bitcoin to keep on going higher. And the question is that everybody's asking, which we answered a couple of times already on the beginning of the stream, but I'll mention it one more time: is Bitcoin going to head higher? And if so, where will that price level be? Look, this was the point to enter this was the point to enter into a long position once Bitcoin broke out the bullish pennant. And is it time to enter positions now? In my personal opinion, other than buying Bitcoin on a spot basis, in terms of a leveraged long or a short, I don't think so. I'm staying away. I still have my long position open both on the $10,000 trading account and my personal trading account. I have my positions already, but I'm not looking into opening new ones, just simply because it was the time has been missed to enter into new positions. And looking at this bearish divergence, is it still in play? Well, if we look at it this way, like on a macro perspective, you can still say that it's in play, but the shorter time frame one is not, because here it's just, it follows the price action. So this is not a divergence. However, on the macro, if we go back all the way to October of last year, then you could still say it is forming a divergence, but it's very close to breaking out. And eventually, if it goes above the 86 line or the 88 point on the RSI, it will invalidate this bearish divergence. But I'm still being very hesitant here. We do look bullish. The market sentiment does look bullish. The only concerning fact is that we've had 6 monthly green candles back to back on Bitcoin, and the only time this happened was between 2020 and 2021, where Bitcoin pumped from $11,700 to $66K. This was the only time where Bitcoin in its price history had 6 monthly green candles back to back. And to note, this was after the halving event, where usually after the halving, a year after the halving, Bitcoin tends to hit an all-time high. This time around, it's happening before the halving, and things are getting very, very interesting. So that's basically my rundown on Bitcoin. Let me know in the comment section. And by the way, let's hit 200 likes. It would be awesome to hit 200 likes on the stream. It would be very, very much appreciated. I want some of your suggestions for altcoins in terms of which ones to do TA on. And I'll be going through the comment section right now, looking at what questions you have. We'll do a small Q&A session, and then I'll jump into some of your altcoins to do analysis. But let me go through some of your comment sections. And thank you so much. We just broke 200 likes. You guys are awesome. Wow. Okay, the comment section has been going pretty crazy, so this is going to take some time for me to go through. Okay, there we go. So that's. Can I look at Solana? Sure, I'll look at Solana, although it's not, unfortunately, an altcoin that I love very much. It does have its problems, but hey, I don't hate it. I don't date it. I just trade it, as Da Vinci likes to say. So we will look at Solana in the upcoming seconds. Stay on the show. What about SHIB? Now, I do have a very interesting story with SHIB. When I was 13 years old, SHIB was actually the first big money that I made in crypto overall. I put I think it was $1,000 of money I saved up from doing chores and birthdays, etc. over the years. And I did have a couple of other businesses. I put that into Shiba Inu. This was before the crazy pump. And I think I made what was it? I made a 10, 15x from Shiba. That was the first ever big money I made with cryptocurrencies. So yeah, I'll take a look at SHIB. And just going back into your comment section. So we're going to look at Solana, Shiba Inu. And I'm just looking at, yeah, I am from Turkey, guys, but I live in Dubai. Looking at your comments again, almost at the end, it's pretty much it. Why is Bitcoin pumping? I recommend going back to the start of the stream and then watching it from the start. It would be very, very much beneficial to you. And yeah, okay, so we'll have a look at XRP. So we're going to be looking at Solana, XRP, and Shiba Inu. Okay, let's end off the show by doing that. If I go to my orange juice chart, it is a tradition to be looking at orange juice. Unfortunately, orange juice, or well, fortunately, it is trading like an altcoin. Like orange juice is moving up by 10%, dropping by 5%, and all these, wow, like look at that, 11% dropped in three days, crazy. Orange juice is probably the biggest altcoin I've ever seen. But hold on, let's have a look at Solana USDT. Okay, there we go. Solana, wow, we're trading at $108. It was super surprising that Solana, after we saw the outage on its network by over what was it, 4 hours and 41 minutes, the price of Solana didn't drop too crazily. And we saw a huge rebound towards the upside. Now, if we switch on to the weekly time frame, just so I get an idea of what's going on here, we were trading at massive resistance, but we did break it a couple of months back. What's concerning for me is that Solana could be forming a double top. Now, this will all depend on whether Bitcoin will be able to continue higher. And if Bitcoin does continue higher, my next price target is going to be at the $50,800 to the $51,800 range. So let me just mark that for the update tomorrow, just so that we don't forget. It's going to be between here and I would say, hold on, that's the wrong one. So if we get the rectangle tool, and this rectangle color is suited for this chart here, so I'll need to change that so it fits the dark background better. But I say between 51.7 and if we just go down here, I'd say this range is important for Bitcoin. I would be probably saying 51.8 is the most possible next target. So I'll just drop a line at 51.726, and that's the point or inflection point that Bitcoin could be seeing if we reach it and continue to pump higher. If not, then our supports sit at $43,800. So these are the 2 points that I'm looking for Bitcoin to see a potential retest or a next target to reach. This is something I already discussed about, so I'll leave that for later. But Solana, yeah, depending on Bitcoin, if we trade higher, then perfect. Solana will, of course, continue and follow with the market. But if Solana does see this double top, it could cause a reversal towards the $55 area, which sounds scary, but this is the macro timeframes, ladies and gentlemen. That's why, if you go into shorter timeframes, you'll have much different targets. So Solana, in terms of a trade right now, I don't see anything clear to enter into a trade. I would just be looking out for this potential double top scenario. If that plays out, then we'll talk about it later on the channel, and that would be confirmed the moment that Solana breaks below $90.38. So okay, that's Solana to you. The next one is going to be Shiba Inu. Shiba, God, we do have some history with this token. Actually, if I go into the monthly time frame, I can probably show you when was when I actually bought Shiba. It was like here. I bought Shiba here. Literally on this candle was where I bought Shiba Inu. I'm not joking. I'm dead serious. I was like 13 years old back then, and then my investment did a basically an 11-12x, and I was like so shocked. My $1,000 turned into like $11,000-$12,000, and I took some profits, and then I put that into other altcoins, grew that portfolio, etc. So that's a bit of my background with how I started crypto and how I accumulated the money that I did. But Shiba was just in this massive accumulation phase. If I put on the Bollinger Bands here, we can see a massive squeeze on the Bollinger Bands, which indicates usually a huge price movement in the upcoming whatever time it is. But for some reason, my Bollinger Bands is not working. That's fine. We can visualize it ourselves. Shiba has been squeezing in price very nicely. And look, if you notice, Bitcoin is pumping so much, but the altcoins are not affected yet. And the reason for this is because the money that goes into altcoins happen a lot later in the cycle. First, capital flows into Bitcoin, and then after the halving, we see capital moving from Bitcoin into Ethereum, and then eventually goes into the altcoins. So we need to wait until the halving event, and after 2-3 months, then we should be seeing altcoins powered by retail FOMO start pumping back in. Because as I said, the current pump that we're seeing on the Bitcoin markets are led majorly by institutions, and institutions are not interested in altcoins at the moment. So once the retail FOMO does kick back in, when we see engagement on Twitter, YouTube go back up, that's the perfect metric to assess when the altcoins are going to start pumping. Then we're going to be seeing, Shiba and all these top 10 market cap altcoins start doing 10x's going into the bull market. But the price has been converging a lot. And the moment we break out of this price convergence, I do think Shiba could be heading to that 2571 area. And finally speaking, let's go over into XRP. And a lot of these tokens, by the way, you can trade and accumulate over on Bitflex. So do make sure to check out the link in the description below. If you can do so on Bybit, also linked in the description below too, to get up to a $30,000 bonus using the link in the description. But looking at XRP, wow, we've done some nice TA on XRP previously. Like I remember this was in summer this was after XRP won the court case, which was incredible. And look, we had a beautiful pennant here which broke towards the upside. And XRP since then, it's not been moving much. What is awesome is that XRP has had an MRI bottom, which is an indicator developed by Tone Vays. It measures momentum of an asset. And here it looks like XRP could be shifting momentum back up. And in terms of, I wouldn't be leveraging. I personally don't leverage trade altcoins other than Ethereum. But I think XRP can reverse if Bitcoin does continue going up, especially to 66 cents. And even if Bitcoin doesn't, once capital starts flowing from Bitcoin to Ethereum to altcoins, I think XRP could definitely come back to 66 cents. Of course, nothing in this video, I reiterate, not financial advice, just my personal opinions and TA only. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll jump back into your altcoins. Sorry, not your altcoins, your Bitcoin. Not your Bitcoin, your questions over on the live stream. And if you have any questions, this is the time to ask right now. We'll do a small 5-minute Q&A session and then we'll end off the stream. And if you are watching this or if you just tuned in, it's been 55 minutes already. I do definitely recommend going back and watching this stream from the start because there were some very, very valuable information, especially the point where I talk about how the Federal Reserve was created. That is going to change your perspective about Bitcoin. And you'll really sit down and think to yourself, okay, wow, if I don't hold Bitcoin, maybe I should be doing so right now. So going into your comments, it would be awesome to end off the stream with 250 likes. It would be very much appreciated if we can get to 250 likes on the stream. There's a lot of altcoins here. We'll save the rest of the altcoins to future videos. So do make sure to turn on the notification bell to be alerted as soon as I make an update on Bitcoin or live streams where we get a chance to look into altcoins too. Just going through your comments. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So the most recent ones are Dogecoin. You know what? We'll have a look at Dogecoin just for you, Lord Drip. We will look into Dogecoin. I do love Dogecoin. I can't lie. Dogecoin is probably one of my favorite altcoins. And, I do think that whenever X integrates its payment services, Dogecoin will be most likely used in this process some way or another. And if it is, then I do think Dogecoin could see a massive rally towards the upside. Same deal with Dogecoin. I mean, a lot of these altcoins have been consolidating, having this, convergence in price, and they're just waiting to have massive blow off tops as soon as capital starts flowing from Bitcoin to Ethereum to altcoins. So it's the same thing here on Dogecoin. In the micro perspective, if we break above this line of resistance, then I do think we could see a reversal to the 90 or 9 cent level. So if we break out from where we are right now, I think Bitcoin can pump another 1 cent, or not Bitcoin, but Dogecoin can potentially pump another 1 cent. But ladies and gents, that sums up our live stream for today. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And yeah, I can't wait to see you guys on my next Bitcoin update video. As mentioned, if you can smash up the like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell to be alerted as soon as something new happens on Bitcoin. Whenever there is a pattern formation, we enter into a trade, etc., you do not want to miss out, especially at such an important time in the market like this one. But guys and girls, thank you so much for watching. Have a beautiful day, and I will see you all in the next video very soon. Take care, guys, and bye-bye.